Hi everybody, I'm Kat from Swish, Somerset Wide Sexual Health Services, and I'm joined today by my two lovely colleagues from Mind in Somerset. Don't know if you want to introduce yourself, guys.
Hiya, I'm Brooke.
Hello, I'm Jake.
And they're joining me today because it is Sexual Health Week this week. Okay, and the theme is Are You Feeling It? So it's all about how sexual health and mental health are inextricably linked. So when it comes to sex, do you worry more about catching an STI or catching feelings? Using condoms is one way to practice safer sex, but if the brain is the body's biggest erogenous zone, how do we protect it? And that's something we're going to talk about today. Brilliant. So I've just got some questions for you guys. Open discussion, jump in whenever. So Mind is obviously a national mental health charity, do some amazing work. Why do you think, from a mental health perspective, that relationships and sex education is a good thing for young people?
Do you want to go first, Jake, or do you want me to?
You can.
Um, so I think naturally, sex is probably just an area that young people just don't want to talk about. They like to kind of do it in their own time, and they don't want anyone to know anything about it. So I think, yes, it can be that kind of conversation, which is what people are trying to come away from. But it's so important to build those relationships and to build that understanding of like that emotional connection with that person that you're in a relationship with or that you're seeing. And I think you almost need to be able to build that before you can even think about kind of the sexual side of it. And and anyone and everyone can talk to you about it. It's just you have to be open to be able to talk about it without feeling incredibly embarrassed, which is a natural feeling for young people to feel around it. But I think it is important, and I think it's important to have it in schools. I think there's ways it can be done better than other ways, and I think there needs to be a way that it's brought up and discussed in like a non-judgmental way, and in a way that you're there to listen. Like that is, you get more out of listening to someone talk about something, and then you can explore what then needs to be looked at. So I don't know, does that answer your question, or is that
Yeah,
not?
no, definitely. I think having that safe space, that listening ear to talk about your worries and everything around sexual education, yeah, it's definitely going to help. Thank you very much. So what about with obviously sexual health? I don't think people realise kind of the depth of the anxieties that come from potentially getting a diagnosis of an STI. So that can be anything from like chlamydia all the way to, herpes, HIV, those things that can kind of stay with you for life. Have you guys got any tips for anyone that has been diagnosed with something, or someone that's a bit anxious and has some health anxieties around potentially contracting an STI? And yeah, have you got any tips on how they can manage that anxiety?
So I think it's one of those things of just don't just go straight onto Google and Google what you've been diagnosed with and then just read what it
Dr.
says.
Google. Yeah.
Because yeah, like there's places, there's Swish, there's the NHS pages, there's genuine places that can explain to you what it is. And a lot of the time, because we now know more about it, a lot of the things like herpes that you do obviously live with, there's ways to understand it better now, and there's ways to understand that it's not as life and death as what potentially it could have been at one point, or potentially the people think it still is. And I just think it's about, if you are having unprotected sex, there's always going to be a risk that something could happen, and that is the risk that you take when you decide to have unprotected sex. And there's tests that you can take to hopefully prevent that, and there's ways that you can try and to prevent that. And that's not for me to tell you what to do, because that's the job of Cat and Swish and
Yeah.
all of that part. But I think it's research it research it correctly so that you have that informed knowledge of what it is, and don't be afraid to have those conversations. I can't remember the name, which I feel really bad about, but there's someone on TikTok who's really active with the fact that he has herpes, and he talks about dating with herpes and how to live with herpes and how to have those conversations. And if they're able to do that in a place that's a massive forum like that, anyone is able to talk about it as long as it's met with respect. And I think that's the thing. You can have these open conversations, but you have to be respectful of what you're hearing and understanding that that is taking a huge amount for them to talk about it. So if it happens, it will happen to someone at some point. Like it just does happen, but it's just about how to manage yourself and not fall into that whole trap of beating yourself up for what you've done, but actually realizing what's there now and what can we do to help right now and what can be somewhere. But there's so many places to talk. Like if you don't want to, like on Swish, they've got helplines. Line you can talk to. There's a web chat with Mine. There's text services. There's so many places you can have those anonymous chats. So yeah, I don't know.
I think it's like keeping yourself well as well, have those
Mm.
conversations to keep on top of your mental health, but don't, like Brooke said, don't beat yourself up and get in a rut. Keep up with your normal daily routine and things going until you've had the treatment, because that is the best way to kind of keep on top of your mental health.
Definitely. We see a lot of people that refuse to test because they're so worried that they just bury their head in the sand and they think, oh no, it's going to be positive, and actually facing it and just getting on with it, like you said.
And I think it's that whole thing of like, obviously, if you do get it earlier, that it's easier to kind of help with stuff when it's earlier.
Yeah.
And also, I think a huge anxiety that I've heard with other people is, oh yeah, but if I've got something, that means I've got to tell that person who potentially is not my girlfriend or my boyfriend, but they're just their friends with benefits or they're something else along that nature, which you think, I don't want to have that conversation with them. But there's ways within the clinic that you can have those conversations confidentially and that you can send texts out to them without them knowing. So there's so many ways, and I understand why you would think, oh my god, no, I don't want to do it. But the sooner the better, and the people at Swish are so friendly when you go. So just try not to have that anxiety. Naturally you will a bit, but try not to let it mean that you don't go.
Yeah, definitely. Just come and see us. We're very friendly. Okay, so kind of keeping on the topic of like stigma and self-worth and sex, do you think how do you think sort of self-esteem plays into people's sex lives and their mental health? How do you think it's all linked?
Do you want to go first, Jake? Or...
No, you can. I'll take the next two.
So I think with your self-worth and with kind of understanding you is there is so much about us, like we learn so much about ourselves our whole life, and when you go through the kind of like that teen point, you've obviously got loads of hormones that you're questioning everything. You never like, you don't like the way you look, or you potentially are going to the gym over and beyond. And yes, there is positives to going to the gym, there's positives to exercising, there's positives to body image. There is also that negative, like there's that side of you don't have to look a certain way to be healthy. Like when you look at like a group of runners who are running 5Ks 10Ks, you can bet your dollar that there will be so many different body shapes there, but they're all healthy and they're all running the same distance. And I think it's you fall into this trap of like, oh, I need to have that gym body. If the gym is the place where you enjoy going and you get that exercise from the gym, then go. But if you just love going for walks, go for walks. If you want to go for a swim, go for a swim. Like, don't fall into the societal pressure that you have to go to like the gym and 7 days a week and stay in there for 3 hours. If you only want to go in for half an hour 3 times a week, do that. Whatever suits you, but do it for the right reasons. Like, do it for the mindset of what you're doing it for, not for what then your body looks like, because life's too short for that part to be a concern. As long as you're healthy, that's all that matters. And as long as you're happy in yourself. And I think the more that we can grow our body confidence and our self-esteem within that field, the more likely then we respect ourselves, and therefore in turn we ensure that people respect us. And so then when it comes to kind of the sex and the intimate side, that's done in a respectful way because you've respected yourself. And I think that's kind of, especially when you are younger, and I know that always sounds so patronizing, but when you are younger, don't just think that you have to do what they want you to do what you feel comfortable with, and the more that you like yourself, the more that you will keep them boundaries up anyway.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think that would be my tips on that.
I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
like, to link into that, your body's going to change so much with hormones and stuff until you hit maybe early mid-20s. So, you've got plenty of time to worry about that. Now is, it's not important. Being healthy is important as a young person.
Exactly. And I think they, like, the Olympics showed us all the different body shapes there are, didn't there? There's been a lot of influencers that have come out of that positive body image, and I think they'd say the same thing.
Yeah, that has
Brilliant.
actually been really good, hasn't it, to see that?
Yeah, like that rugby player that's got like millions and millions of followers now. And
Ah,
she's built like she's got muscles, she's confident, but not typical, not like these bodies you'd see online. I know a lot of
on the
young
influencer
women.
sites.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to a bit more about like technology, social media, and that kind of influence on sort of sexual health and mental health. Do you guys have much experience with that within your service? Do you see the link between the two?
Yeah, definitely. I think across the service, and it sort of fluctuates slightly between females and males. I guess males are influenced more by the kind of sexual side of online, the porn side, and it's that kind of unrealistic idea of sex, because porn is not realistic. However much people might want it to be, it's not, and it's important to kind of remember that when you're having relationships with people, and how you treat people and the sex you have should be kind of built between you and on trust and what you're comfortable with, and that kind of leads into consent and that side of things as well. And I guess the females, it's kind of more, you guys have already touched on it, the influencer side. It's how do we look like them, how do we be them, and I think that kind of hasn't links back into the one before with self-worth. It just kind of has a negative effect on self-esteem. Bruff, I don't know if you've kind of got anything to add to that.
No, I think you've kind of hit that part around it, and I think it's like you were touching on, but that whole, when you build relationships with each other, it's only at that point do you realize like what you like and what they like, and like that's where it should be led to. It shouldn't be, oh well, I saw this happening and therefore that meant that this. And obviously there's so many new laws that have been put in place recently, which Kat will put more in like the blurb underneath, but things around like strangulation and the choking side of things, like there's so much more in the upskirting and photos and revenge porn. There's so much more because of the likes of these social media influencers who are doing good stuff and raising awareness with it, but there are things out there to protect you now. And I think it's so important to just be mindful and like don't fall into the pressure of like, oh well, my friend sent that person a nude, so I then need to send them a nude. Or if people are putting pressure on you saying, oh well, you're boring because you're not sending one when Katie down the road sent one, like that's fine. If they want to have that relationship, but don't feel the pressure that you have to. Just do whatever feels right for you. And just because you're seeing people post bikini photos online doesn't mean you need to post bikini photos online. So just whatever you feel comfortable to do. And if someone is making you feel like that, then question whether that's the type of person you want to be hanging around anyway. So I think, yeah, it's definitely, you can use it for its advantages, like you can contact helplines and support people and you can find out more, but ultimately you only know as much as you know from who you're with in that moment.
Definitely. Thank you very much. And I think it's really important to know the laws around, like you said, around sending kind of pictures, for example, and especially if you are under 18, being aware of, if you send something like that, it's classed as distributing child pornography. So very important to be careful with that one. Okay. So in terms of like the modern day male and their sexuality, I think we touched on it a little bit when you talked about porn. What do you think this looks like, and how does that relate to mental health? Do you think the status of
quite difficult at the moment, isn't it? There's a lot of, especially online, it really links in with the last one, of pressure to be an alpha male, whatever that is to each person. And I'm sort of talking of the likes of kind of Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, all of them. They don't have any respect for women, and they're quite open with that, unfortunately, and that is having not a great effect on our young men. I've had a lot of conversations with young men who, Andrew Tate especially, they like him, and they like him for the all right, his flashy stuff, which you get, he's got nice cars and stuff, but he works out in the gym and stuff, and that's good. Use that. You think he does good gym routines. We've touched on that already. That's healthy, as long as you're doing it to stay healthy. But his attitude about being a man is not realistic, and is not right. It's not up to me. An alpha man is someone that is a gentleman to women, and that is the only way to go. And if you are one of those people, be proud of that, I think. And those are the people that are going to end up with girlfriends and nice wives and lots of friends. Unfortunately, if you start to take on this alpha male pressure from the online world, and it's not going to be good, and you're not going to have any girlfriends, guys. So yeah, you probably want to kind of have a think about that. I think I'm trying to think how to put something
What you're
without
thinking.
it sounding
Wow.
rude. My wife always says, and this isn't going to rhyme, but funny gets women, and that is probably, be better being funny than trying to act like an alpha male, because it's not cool. Yeah, and I get it. There's a lot of pressure, but I think it's about having the confidence to kind of break out from that pressure and be your own man. Women will like that confidence in yourself rather than trying to act macho. Is my view.
And it does fall into that whole thing, doesn't it? Because there's always been so much, like, for so long now, of like, oh, well, a girl always wants the bad guy, and like nice guys always come last, and all of this. But like, really, when I think what it falls down to for me is, when you look at your life and you look at how like small your life is, what do you want out of life? What do you want your life to look like? And do you want your life to look like someone controlling you and kind of having that like power and that like authority and all of that, or do you want just a fun lovely life with someone that you're literally best mates with and you're living life together and just enjoying the best moments? And when you can picture what you want, just go for that. And if that's not the stereotypical your type or the bad guy or whatever that is, who cares? As long as you're happy in what
Yeah.
you chose, that's all that matters. And I think just, and like for the young guys listening to this, which I hope obviously that you will listen to this, but like just be true to who you are and like and have those nice friends, play footy for as long as you want and you can, like do all the stuff you should be doing growing up, not watching bitter old men who have got nothing better to do really. So go back to your roots a bit and just like socialize with your mates and just have that connection is what I'd say.
And also just kind of the men we're talking about, I think it's always worth looking into their lives and seeing where the women are at.
Yeah, and what their mental health is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
And whether
Yeah.
you want that sort of lifestyle that they're portraying.
Yeah. It's it's a detriment
And
to
it's not,
everyone.
and it's obviously there is a lot of talk around like all genders at the moment, and it's not a whole we all hate men, men suck, all of that. It's not that. It's just about building healthy relationships with yourself first and most importantly, and then with others, showing that respect to yourself and to others, showing that love to yourself and to others. Like it's just about building that and going back to roots of just being with each other really in a nice way.
And being confident, a lot of this one
Yeah.
is really important in calling your mates out or calling, obviously if you walk down the street and there's a stranger that says something, don't put yourself in danger. But if you're out with your mates and one of them say a derogatory comment to a woman or whatever, call them out on it. Like that is okay to do. Just say to them, like, that's not respectful, mate. Let's put that in a different way. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but feeling confident to be able to do that with your friends, I think is really important.
Definitely. And we know that leads, we know those like kind of casual harassment comments like lead to bigger, more aggressive things down the line. So I think that's a really good point to make, actually. Yeah.
And I think for me, it's as a lad, I know what lads are like, and it is as fun as a laugh. You have to see it from the other person's point of view, and for women, all the women I've spoken to, it makes them feel vulnerable because you're pointing out that you're a male and they're a female, and you might be the nicest man in the world, and most of us are, but the female you've just said that to don't know you and doesn't know that, they don't know if you could be someone that could hurt them or not. And so just be mindful of things like that when you're having a laugh, I think is the important bit.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. Such a good discussion, so many valid points raised. It's been really lovely talking to you. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of say to wrap up the week?
I was just going to say, just always reach out and always talk to someone. If you don't feel comfortable to talk to your family or your friends or whatever, or you just want a bit more of a like informed educational conversation around it, speak to the professional in that field. So anything like kind of sex health wise, go to Swish. If you want to rant about your mates that are saying something that's annoying you, like we've got the web chat which is open every night 8 to 11 p.m. and that's on our website. And we've got Mine Line which is 24/7 and you can call every day for up to half an hour. Like use them. There's apps like Tell Me and they're really good. It's like kind of like a bit of a Twitter platform where you can ask advice and then they can give advice back and it's all monitored so you know that it's safe. There's Shout, there's Hub of Hope, which is an app that shows you where to get other support. Like there's so much out there, and yeah, we know where it is because we work with it every day, so we know how to find it. But genuinely reach out to, well, any of us, reach out on Time to Connect social media, reach out on Minds, reach out on Swishes, reach out to any of us if you want us to help you. But there is so many services, and even starting with Mindline, they will be able to put the referrals into the right places. But just always reach out and always talk to someone, because someone will be there to listen to you and they really will want to help you. So yeah, just don't sit in your own worry and your anxiety. Just come and talk to us.
Thank you so much, guys. And I think that's a great point to close on. So the better your
Thanks
mental
so
health.
much for having us, Kat.
Better your sexual health.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.